The 2023 NBA season is right around the corner, and after an offseason of craziness and drama, opening night is finally tomorrow. I'm looking really forward to it. But in this one, I have my predictions for the Eastern Conference standings. And for my bottom tier, 12 through 15 seed, basically just these rebuilding teams that aren't going to make any noise this season. At number 15, though, I have the Indiana Pacers. We all know what this team is going to be trying to do this season. Just tank for that first overall pick. Obviously, it's not like the NFL where worst record gets the first draft pick. Obviously, they got to get lucky in that lottery, but they will obviously have at least a top 3 or 5 pick. Benedict Mathurin is probably my favorite rookie from this draft class, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays. But Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, I think those are some guys that will probably get dealt by the deadline. Number 14, a team I'm really low on and probably will get some disagreements, is the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball is the only bright young piece on this team. Miles Bridges is having his own personal issues, obviously. Gordon Hayward, we know, can't stay healthy. And I'm really not a fan of the Steve Clifford hiring after the James Borrego firing. And I don't think this team is going to be good at all this season. Next up at number 13, I have the Orlando Magic. If there's any team next year that can make some noise and surprise some people, make a run for the play-in, it can potentially be the Magic. I know I have them at the 13th seed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they can be that team. They got lucky after their years of poverty, landed Paolo Banchero with the first overall pick, now pairing him alongside Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner, Marco Fultz I think should be back, Wendell Carter, who can potentially be a top 10 center this season if he can play well. So this Magic team obviously is going to be set up for the future, but they won't have much success this season. Same goes for the 12th seed. I have the Detroit Pistons. A lot of young talent on this team. Really excited to see how that backcourt of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey work together. But yeah, obviously, just like the Magic, this team's set up for the future, but for this upcoming season, they're still young. I don't think that they will have much success. And now getting into these kind of bottom team tiers, number 11 seed, I have the Washington Wizards. Now, Bradley Beal, I know that he's really talented, probably a top 3 shooting guard in the NBA. But there's really just no other pieces on that team. The number 2 option is Kristaps Porzingis, and we know after the experiment in Dallas that is probably not going to work out for them. Maybe this team can make the play-in, but it really won't matter. I think this team is a lock to not make the playoffs once again. Bradley Beal got his super max with no trade clause, so he's obviously set up for the rest of his life, but I still think that he's going to have no success staying in Washington. Number 10, finally getting into these play-in teams, I have the Knicks. Now, this isn't really a surprise. Julius Randle is your number one. Well, I guess not really. You've RJ Barrett now probably as your future, as your number one option, but now pairing him alongside in the backcourt of Evan Fournier and Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, you gave a lot of money to, would probably consider it an overpay after one good season in Dallas, but I would probably maybe have them a 1 or 2 seeds higher up if they got Donovan Mitchell too. It really doesn't make much of a difference to me. I think that the Knicks will still do what the Knicks do best and completely fail their fans. I do have the Knicks finishing as the 10th seed, making the play-in, but I think it's going to be another year of no playoffs for the Knicks. At the 9th seed, I have the Chicago Bulls. It really pains me because this team has a lot of talent with LaVine, DeRozan, Caruso, Vucevic, P. Will. But Lonzo Ball is going to be out for a while this season with his knee injury. And who knows, it could potentially go the length of the whole entire season long, which really sucks for them. But like I said, I wouldn't really be surprised if this team kind of shocks me and goes a little bit further than what I expect them to be at. But I do think that this team will still be around the 7, 8, 9 seed in that area. And now getting into these top 8 playoff teams. Number 8, I have the Toronto Raptors. This team always goes past my expectations every single season. Wouldn't be surprised if they kind of do it again, maybe passing a team like Atlanta or Cleveland or something like that, but I do think that the Raptors will make the playoffs. I think I had them making the play-in last year, and they kind of shocked me with that, finishing as the 5 seed, but this team's got a lot of talent. Fred Van Vliet, Siakam, I think Scotty Barnes is going to have a really nice year this season. Gary Trent is still young, so I do expect this team to be back kind of in that same area that they've been for the past couple of years, in that, 5 to 8 seed area. But I don't think that the season's going to be too special for them. Number 7, the Hawks. Now we get into kind of teams that have made some offseason big-time moves. And with the Hawks, they have a new big 3 I guess it's not really competing with those top tier big threes, but DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, and John Collins. Now, a new big three in the East. The East is just so good this season. So having a team like this at the 7th seed is just pretty crazy to me. This team's going to be good. I wouldn't be surprised if this team finishes better than the Cavs, but I do have that team just a bit higher. I think the DeJounte Murray and Trae Young backcourt works perfectly together. You've one of the best offensive players and one of the best defensive players in that same backcourt. We know that Trae Young was a big time liability on defense, especially when it came to those facing those types of guards. Now you have the best defensive guard, potentially at least one of them, in DeJounte Murray. So I like that trade a lot for the Hawks, considering you only gave up like a first round pick or maybe two of them. But I do think that the Hawks will be good. Still have a pretty young team though, so won't be going very far this season. Number 6 seed, I have the Cavs. Now I know this team is going to be good, but you think about the top 6 teams or top 5 teams in the East. I don't think that the Cavs get past any of those teams. Obviously, the big move this offseason is making that trade for Donovan Mitchell. You now have a starting lineup of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. That's 4 All-Stars in your lineup, 4 potential All-Stars in your lineup. And I think that Evan Mobley will have a stellar season once again. Jarrett Allen's going to be doing what Jarrett Allen has been doing. Darius Garland really broke out last season. Donovan Mitchell, I think, will be the consistent scorer that he is. But the only concern I have on this team is when they face a team with a really solid guard. That backcourt defense really scares me for Cleveland. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are 2 major defensive liabilities. So I think that there's going to be a lot of trouble when they face those types of teams that are going to completely destroy their defense. But I do think that the Cavs have a lot of young talent, and they will be a very exciting team to watch this season. Now getting into the final tier in the East, these top 5 teams, and starting off at the 5 seed, I have the Brooklyn Nets. We know what Kevin Durant's going to do. He's just going to do KD things. He's going to lead this team to the playoffs no matter what. But then it gets to these final pieces. Kyrie Irving is going to potentially, he's a big liability because we don't know, not in his play, but whether he's going to play, he's a liability. We don't know when he can take these random personal breaks that are going to last 2 to 3 days, and they end up lasting 2 to 3 weeks. So Ben Simmons, we know he can do the same exact thing, so a lot of liabilities on whether these guys are going to be able to play for the whole entire season. But I do think that Ben Simmons will be back. He's going to be a big defensive help for this Brooklyn Nets team who had trouble with that last season. I think that the Nets can be a team that people don't really expect because obviously Ben Simmons was kind of the meme of the NBA last season. Kyrie Irving was too because he would be out for a ton. But I do think that we can see the Nets go pretty far into the East. Number 4 seed, I have the Miami Heat. Obviously, being a Dolphins fan, you can expect that I'm a Heat fan too. I do think that the Heat will go far, maybe not as far as they went this past season to within seconds of another finals appearance. But you lose PJ Tucker, that's going to be a big hit. You now add Caleb Martin to the starting power forward spot, and that's going to be a pretty big help because he's a more versatile for a better offensive option for the power forward spot. And you add Nikola Jovic, who's a really nice offensive piece that can add some scoring ability to this team. Tyler Hero got his extension. I think that we can see Jimmy Butler and Bam and Lowry doing the same exact things that they did last season to lead us to that Eastern Conference Finals appearance. I do think that the Heat will not take that much of a loss. But there's 3 teams that I think really lead the Eastern Conference. And number 3, the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm a big fan of the 76ers team. I do think that Harden maybe won't return to his MVP form like he was in Houston, but I think Embiid will be a major MVP candidate. He may be my pick. I'll have the awards coming out tomorrow before the game start. But I do think that the Sixers will be back, and they will be really, really good this year. I think that they can go far. Number 2, I have the Bucks. Obviously, we know what they can do with this team. They just won the championship 2 years ago. But Giannis, I think, is going to want his revenge on the Celtics after last season going out in the divisional round. Yeah, the divisional round. But I think there's one team on top of the East, and it's the Boston Celtics, still reigning from last season. This team's young. If anything, they're going to be better than they were last season. We all know about the Ime Udoka situation, but bottom line is, the assistant coach still runs the same exact system that Udoka ran. So although he's going to be out for the season, the players, it's not like Jason Tatum is suspended for the season. I think that the Celtics can still get back to where they were last season, and regardless of who's the coach, I think that this is going to be a players type of team this season, and they will be able to lead the Celtics to maybe not back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals leaders, but I think that they will go deep into the playoffs. But that is my Eastern Conference predictions for this upcoming season. I'm going to have the West predictions coming out in a couple hours, but really excited for the NBA season to start. Either way, that'll wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Peace.